3V dice sets, the 2V, which is a 2124 dice set. So you would read this 2124, and then also the cross sixes dice set, which is the 6264 dice set, which is cross sixes 6264. When you look at the dice, there's actually many different ways that you can actually grip the dice. So using this, so let's put it like this here. Let's do a straight sixes set here. And what you can do is you can actually grasp the dice with a 3-finger front par style grip. So what happens is when you set it up properly, your thumb is in the exact center of the dice there. Your middle finger is the exact middle of the dice there. And then I will show you a little bit later in the video how I take this grip and how I set into it and how I place it on the table and try to shoot down a table so it lands in the area that I'm looking for. I also use what's called a 3-finger front Yuri style grip. Okay, and what I do there now is I'm going to grasp the dice so that, again, I have the middle part of the thumb on the middle part of the dice, middle part of the pinky, or middle finger on the center of the dice, and I'll place my other 2 fingers in place now. So if you look, my fingers are just on the edge of the dice. They're not even on the face of the dice, they're actually on the edge of the dice. And from here, what I'll do is I'll actually place my pinky down on the layout, and I'll keep the dice about a quarter to half an inch off the layout, and I'll keep them perpendicular to the back wall as well as even to the table, and then I throw them from there. I kind of do like a flat toss or a push toss when I do that style throw. Angle throw, if you look at some of my earlier videos, I always had the angle coming down on a table at a 45-degree angle. I have since changed my thoughts on that, and my angle of grip now, or my angle of dice coming down now is anywhere between 25 to 35 degrees. So I have been tending to throw my dice lower to the table, so that way I can control the energy in the landing zone a little bit better. So to begin your dice toss, you want to make sure that you have an excellent grip. And the style grip that I use is called an on-axis grip. And I use what's called a 3-finger front par style. So my 3 fingers here will be on the front of the dice. My thumb will be on the back of the dice. And in order to get your fingers straight along, and let's put the 6 here in front. You want to get your fingers so they're just right on those pips here on the front of the dice, the top of the dice. In order to get your fingers straight, one of the things that George from CY had recommended is taking your fingers and just push them straight down on the table. And that's going to get them so that they're straight across all the way on all 3 fingers. And after a while, you kind of get used to it. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these fingers together so I can feel that. So I can feel that this index finger here is pushing into the middle finger. This ring finger here is pushing into the middle finger as well. So that way, when I do this with my hand, I can't extend any further than that, which helps a lot when I release the dice. So we're going to come in here, and you always see me place my hand on the table right next to the dice when I'm ready to throw the dice. So I'll come in here and I'll place those fingers straight, glue them together, and I'm going to place them so the thumb is centered on the dice, and my middle finger is centered on the center of the dice as well. And if you look, my fingers are just about at that tip there. The other thing I'll do is I'll take my index finger and I'll push those dice in so they're nice and tight. So that way, if you look at the dice are really nice and tight, they're square, there's no gap in between them. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to press my fingers down and in, make sure they're tight, and then I bring it into a situation where the dice are square to the table. If you look in the picture here on the camera, they look square to the table, and they're also going to be perpendicular or square to the end of where my landing zone is going to be. So if my landing zone is going to be 4 points over to the left of this pass line right here, if I draw this line straight down the table and I go 4 diamonds to the left, that'll give me about a 10 to 20 degree angle on the dice. So I come in here, I square them up. I also have found that if you look, my pinky is underneath my finger, so that way my fingers are not tight onto the layout. I found that with my fingers tight on the layout, what happened is I had a drag on the layout. My fingers would drag on the layout, and that would throw my toss off as well. So I have since put my pinky underneath my ring finger, so that way I'm a little bit elevated from the table layout, or they call it from the base. So we're right in this position right here. The dice are straight out from my nose. So if I drew a line straight towards my nose, that'll be right off the tip of my nose. So that's where I go. I will go through, I will set the dice. Let's say we're going to go with a 3, 6, 3, 2 dice, and we'll get into the dice sets as well. And what we're going to do is we're just going to grasp the dice, like I said. We're going to set it up so our pinky's underneath the dice. And from here now, we're going to make sure that the dice are square to the table. So they're square, same distance here as it is over here. And we're going to launch the dice from the deck, meaning that there's not going to be any kind of backswing involved. We're going to go right from the deck right here. So we're going to go right from here and straight forward. Okay. The biggest thing what I'm doing now is I'm looking down to the end of the table, and my landing zone is going to be following this line right here. Is the line that I follow all the way down, and I'll find the diamond up on the back of the wall, straight up from that pass line. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll count over 4 diamonds. 1, 2, 3.
New crafted flats from Pizza Hut are just $5.
And that's a diamond set that I'll actually aim the dice towards, somewhere between there and number 6, between 4 and 6. 4 puts you about 10 to 20 degree angle from where you're throwing the dice. And number 6 will give you a little bit further. Some people do go to the center of the table. But again, I draw a line right down that pass line right to the back wall. And this is what I'm focusing on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be focusing right on the tip of that diamond. So what'll happen now is when the dice come down, they'll right towards that diamond. My goal is now to get the dice to land right on the left side of that tip. So that way it comes in and either lands straight down here, or it'll come in and it'll throw the dice towards the left. And they'll bounce off and go that direction or that direction. So if it either comes straight down and lands right close to the back wall, or it goes left, that is what I'm looking for dice behavior. I also want them to stay close to the back wall. I don't want them to come any further off the back wall then let's say about 3 to 4 inches. That's about as far off right there is what I want to see the dice. And when they do come off the back wall, I want to see them relatively close in position. So something like that, or something like this, or something, right around this area here, but no further apart than that. If I can get them to land really close together like that, that is what my preferred result is. And that's what I'm really looking for when I'm shooting the dice. So that way they land really close. So again, anywhere in here is fine.